It's finally happening! The Legend of Korra is dropping on Netflix. That means it's finally time for me to talk about all the cool ways bending has advanced since Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender showed several new bending forms and techniques utilized that are all massively improved upon in Legend of Korra. Most famously, Toph Beifong created the art of Metalbending, which seemed to take off between the two shows. She shared her art, even forming an academy dedicated to it. It proved to be so successful that it's one of the primary bending arts used in the series. This becomes very clear within the first episode, where we meet Toph's daughter Lin and her elite metal bending police. Her squad is able to apprehend Korra right after she took down 3 rough street benders. If it weren't for them, I'm pretty sure Korra would have basically become Batman instead of a pro bender. The metal bending mania doesn't just exist in Republic City though. There is a whole tribe of metal benders in Korra's time known as the Metal Clan. Their metal bending skill wasn't quite enough to take on the Earth Empire though. Former Metal Clan Master Kuvira led one of the fiercest armies in the franchise. Toph wasn't the only one to revolutionize new bending concepts. Avatar Aang shook the world with his fated duel with the Fire Lord. Instead of taking Ozai out permanently, Aang was able to use energy bending to remove his fire abilities forever. While this proved to be a hopeful ending for Aang, it really caused Korra some trouble. During her days in Republic City, Korra went up against an organization known as the Equalists. Led by the mysterious Amon, these guys wanted to even the playing field between benders and non-benders. Amon was able to master the technique Aang used against Ozai to forcibly remove people's bending abilities in a display that left the citizens of RC pretty shook. Unfortunately, Amon's creep factor did not end there. You see, there was one bending concept revealed in Avatar: The Last Airbender that probably could have been left alone. In the episode The Puppet Master, Katara meets a woman named Hama who has mastered the disturbing art of bloodbending. It turns out that not only is Amon a creepy power stealer, but he's also an expert bloodbender. While Hama was only able to bloodbend during the full moon, Amon was able to do it whenever. His father, the crime boss Yakone, was a famous bloodbender who taught his son the disgusting art. This was a bit of a hat on a hat for Amon as a villain though. You can't take away people's bending and bend their blood. You get one evil bad guy thing, just one. The Equalists not only had an energy bending and bloodbending maniac leading them, but also some chi blockers. This technique, while actually ancient, was practiced in secret until Ty Lee basically spilled the beans to the world about it. She taught the Kyoshi warriors, and then it just caught on. While there are no chi blockers as talented or as charismatic as Ty Lee in Legend of Korra, we see the practice used quite a bit. One thing that we do hear about a lot in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but don't see much of, are actual airbenders. As the show's title suggests, Aang is the only one left in the world. While we get to see him utilize it often, it still doesn't get the attention the other forms do. That all changes when Legend of Korra drops one of its biggest twists. After the harmonic convergence, the world gets populated with a whole new generation of airbenders. Unlike Aang and the Nomads, these airbenders aren't quite as peaceful. The Red Lotus was led by a particularly aggressive airbender named Zahir, who had none of Aang's peace-loving philosophy. Luckily, Aang's son Tenzin resolved to restore the Air Nomads to what they were before the Fire Nation attacked. So perhaps this is one bending art that will actually get back to the way it was before the original series. The Red Lotus also had Pli, the only other person ever known to have mastered combustion bending. This art was previously seen in the original series when Combustion Man went after the original Team Avatar. He was able to make concentrated explosions using a rare form of firebending. While Pli proved herself to be worthy of Combustion Man's legacy, her end was a bit too close to his. Combustion bending ended up being the cause of both of their demise. Maybe combustion bending should be left alone. Perhaps the greatest advancement in the bending world doesn't have much to do with the combat at all. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, we see incredible cities like Ba Sing Se or the Northern Water Tribe. As cool as those cities are, they have got nothing on Republic City. Within something like 70 years, the bending world was able to harness the powers of electricity and industrialization. So much so that The Legend of Korra basically starts in 1920s New York City. The technology in the world doesn't just stop there though. 1920s New York might be a cool aesthetic to start with, but what about a mecha anime? That's right, Korra blows way past the technological advancements of the 20th century into tech that's hopefully coming in our future. If we aren't moving towards a society where every human on Earth has access to their very own giant robot, then what are we even doing, honestly? We get to see these enormous mecha suit battalions used by Kuvira in the final season. That's not all though, because she also utilized a giant mecha that became the centerpiece for the final episode of the series. Kuvira was the only one who was on that Pacific Rim level. By far the most popular aspect of Republic City's new all benders all the time philosophy is the pro-bending sport. I'm pretty sure at some point Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko decided that they wanted Avatar to have its own Quidditch, but better. If that was their goal, then they succeeded 100%. The sport combines aspects of wrestling, MMA, and that Avatar combat we love so much. While it was cool and probably necessary for the show to pivot away from pro-bending and towards world-saving, I would have definitely watched a show all about pro-bending tournaments. Of course, I really like the anime Baki, so that makes sense. It's kind of insane just how advanced Republic City is compared to the ones we see in the original series. It has radios, cars, electricity, and very modern-looking buildings. While this is a cool style choice that separates Legend of Korra from its parent series, it also reinforced the ideals of Aang and the gang. Aang's entire mission statement was that if all the nations learned to work together, they'd be able to do much more than they could apart. Republic City is nothing if not proof to that idea. The united populace of benders and non-benders were able to create a city that was easily hundreds of years more advanced than their sister cities. There is absolutely no way that Phoenix King Ozai's Fire Empire would have ever been able to do that. Not just because Ozai's daughter Azula would have usurped his throne to become Phoenix Queen within the year. He may pretend to be an evil monster, but we all know that she was the real deal. That being said, Republic City also makes a great case for why the world will always need an avatar. While the city is highly advanced in many areas, that advancement can also lead to moral decay. Korra finds this out within only a few minutes in the city. She discovers that homelessness and crime are very real problems for the supposedly idyllic city. Not only that, but the inequality of benders versus non-benders very nearly leads to the city's destruction. Ultimately, the advancement of the world proves Avatar Aang's philosophy was right all along, but that there needs to always be a new avatar to solve the problems progress makes. People love to rant and rave about the powerful benders in Avatar: The Last Airbender, and for good reasons. Who could ever forget the moment when King Bumi kicked an entire Fire Nation army out of his city by himself? Or when the White Lotus took on a comet-powered Fire Nation occupation in Ba Sing Se without losing a single man? Or pretty much any scene where Toph or Katara showed that you don't need to be an avatar to take everyone else in the world down. While all of those characters are undeniably awesome, it's about time for the insanely talented benders in The Legend of Korra to get their due. Let's start with one of the greatest non-avatar benders in the franchise, Kuvira. While Ozai struggled to challenge an avatar who hadn't fully mastered all four elements with a huge comet power boost, Kuvira had no such trouble. The first duel between Korra and Kuvira was one of the roughest defeats we've ever seen in the series. Korra barely even makes any contact with a seemingly bored Kuvira who blocks her every move. Kuvira's earth and metal bending combo is so formidable that Korra has to go all-out avatar state just to land a few blows. There's also the Red Lotus that serves as the Legion of Doom to the original White Lotus's super friends. These chaotic benders who want to end the avatar cycle forever came at Korra with all sorts of fancy new abilities. For starters, there's Minghua, who manages to be one of the fiercest waterbenders we've ever seen without the use of her arms. That is pretty crazy, considering how much arms comes into play for most waterbenders. Then there's Ghazan, who has mastered the insanely inaccurate art of lava bending. People who write fantasy stories obviously have no idea how insanely dangerous lava is, or lava bending would be a much scarier thing. Then there's their leader Zahir, who is not only the first bad guy airbender we meet, but one who has mastered the art to a whole other level. While Aang and most other airbenders needed a glider to truly fly, Zahir learned how to Superman his way around with no help. He became the first airbender in 4,000 years to master the art after his combustion-bending girlfriend Pli perished, leaving him no earthly connections. Bolin may not have had Toph's ingenuity for earthbending, but he was able to master the complex art of lava bending in a relatively short amount of time. Gazan showed that lava bending could be used to create intensely powerful projectiles that Bolin then used in the final episodes of the series. All of these guys are nothing compared to the main attraction though. Avatar Korra more than lives up to Aang's legacy as not only an avatar but as a powerful bending prodigy in her own right. When Korra is discovered to be the avatar, she already showed some skill with all 4 elemental styles. Unfortunately for her, the challenges she would face cover more than what elemental manipulation could handle. When she had to face down the spirit Vatu, Korra used energy bending to create a giant astral projection of herself. She was able to restore Rava and thus some semblance of balance to the world. While Aang's fight with Ozai is definitely still more fun to watch, this might be the most impressive Avatar moment to date. Ultimately, Korra was able to do more than just master the elements. She communed and battled against some of the most powerful spirits in existence. She stopped a frankly ridiculous number of revolutions. Then she managed to take down a giant robot and the metal-bending psycho who was about to take over the world with it. While she might not be quite to the Avatar Kyoshi level of awesomeness, you've got to admit that she is at least pretty close. I mean, could anyone ever be as awesome as Avatar Kyoshi? She's basically the rock star of the Avatar cycle. Well, there you have it, all the cool ways that bending gets advanced from Avatar The Last Airbender into The Legend of Korra. Which bending method of all the ones we see in the franchise is your favorite? If you say bloodbending, I'm not hanging out with you during a full moon. Let us know all of your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to CBR for more Avatar action.